All right, I think we know where the right is headed in the run-up to the next set of elections. Conservatives gathered at CPAC to take aim at what seems to be their new favorite boogeyman, socialism. Take a listen.
The moment America becomes a socialist country is the moment that America ceases to be America.
They want to take your pickup truck. They want to rebuild your home. They want to take away your hamburgers. This is what Stalin dreamt about.
Sebastian Gorka making the case there, the conservative bedrock of strength on the world stage, defense of truth, separation of powers. Those were harder to find at CPAC, or at least they weren't the main theme. Now, a man who may help us discover what the play is the man himself, CPAC chairman Matt Schlapp. Good to have you on the show, Matt. Been a while.
Great to be back with you, Chris.
Who's that yelling behind you? Oh, the CPAC is going on. Oh, great. We're getting some ambient sound as well. All right, so do me a favor. Let's do a little plus minus, Matt. Make the pitch to the audience about the socialism bent. Is this just hyperbole, or are you going to make a real case that that's where we're headed?
Well, quite honestly, I think it's a little shocking for some of us. I mean, the theme of our CPAC this year is what makes America great. The intent is to go back to some foundational principles of why America is exceptional. And out of nowhere, as a result of the 2018 election, there's a brand new stridency. Bernie is not standing alone. Elizabeth Warren is not standing alone. You actually have Democrats, elected Democrats, who are embracing socialism. It's a totally legitimate pushback after socialism has failed so extravagantly all over the globe, and most specifically right now in Venezuela. So I think the American people actually think the idea of embracing socialism is pretty controversial. And I think the Democrats are on a risky gambit. I'm worried about it because Democrats win a lot of elections, and I don't like the fact that they're going to run for the presidency, not from the center, how they usually win it. They're going to run it from the extreme left.
That's what you think. So what is the weakness of doing that? If you go all in and calling it socialism, aren't you vulnerable to somebody saying, well, if we just want to get more health care to more people, or we want to get tax cuts to more people, or jobs to more people in a lower income bracket, that's what they're calling socialism because you don't want to deal with the policies.
Yeah, so I mean, there's something enticing about telling people you're going to do things for free for them, but you have to figure out the costs. You have to figure out the cost of this Green New Deal, which seems extreme to me with some of the policy provisions, most of the policy provisions within it. And I think, look, this is the question. Chris, you asked the right question. Where are the American people on this? I would argue, after 8 years of Obama, many Americans liked President Obama. They liked many things about him. But they thought that his economic policies actually created a soft economy and took away their economic prosperity and their ability to have rising wages and new economic opportunities. It's one of the reasons Donald Trump won. He was able to swipe away the votes of a lot of blue-collar voters, a lot of middle-class voters who wanted that opportunity. And by the way, since that election, the right track numbers in this country are much higher than they've been at any time in the Obama administration. And so you see real improvements. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on all these things, and it could be that America wants to embrace socialism, but I'll take that bet if you want to make it.
No, look, I get it. I think that the clever part of this is that you're just calling policies that are more populist, arguably, or play more to the middle class as socialist. I get it. That's politics, and they're going to have to counter your argument. But, you know, if you're talking about conservative bedrock policies, a return to those, as you said earlier, two, let's take a look at. One was fiscal conservatism. You didn't pay for this tax cut that Trump got through. It's going to hit the deficit. It already is. You see that the tax checks that people are getting back are not what we expected. It's still early in the season. But that was a conservative bedrock principle that was flouted by the president. You guys went along with it.
I'd love to respond to that. I actually think both parties deserve to be horsewhipped over their constant refrains that we're going to balance the budget.
Presidents in your party. When you guys controlled Congress. You passed it.
Chris, let me tell you, I'm not going to push back too aggressively on this. I think we have to do a lot better job of restraining spending. $22 trillion in debt, and those chickens are going to come home to roost. I think it's a mistake to say, after 8 years of Obama stagnation, that it wasn't the right thing to do to have steep tax cuts.
But it wasn't stagnation. You know that we pulled out of one of the deepest holes in our history in 2008 when he came up. You know, so when he got in there, he was in a deep hole. He got us out of that hole, and the economy grew and grew, and now it's continuing to grow.
I worked for President Bush, and it is fair to say at the end of his presidency, we had a banking collapse, a housing collapse, and there's no question Obama inherited a rough economy. I will tell you that. The problem is new regulations and Obamacare and all this profligate federal overreach did not allow us to grow at a rate that made a difference for the middle class and for the poor. Look at the poverty statistics after this try with Obamonomics. People were made worse off. Why did people turn to Donald Trump? Some people say it was because he had all of this rhetoric. They actually turned to him because in America, on presidential elections, the pocketbook matters, and people felt a real pinch in their pocketbook.
Well, that's true, but that tax cut wound up being a little bit of a farce, so I just hope that you hold him to account for that. And then there's another bedrock
It's not a farce.
principle.
No.
The tax cut was a farce
it's
because it didn't
resulting
target
in-
the middle class and it wasn't paid for. That's a farcical notion of conservative fiscal economics.
But let's look at something that is clear, which is America had, on the corporate side, one of the highest income tax rates in the world. So
But
America
not
was
an
out of
effective rate.
synchronization.
Not an effective rate.
No, that's not true. No, that's not true.
Oh, yeah, because of the
No, that's not
loopholes
true.
and what they have
Then why-
actually paid, they were about in the middle of the pack. But there was no question that you could make improvements on it. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
Okay, and let me just make this one point, which is there's a reason why people feel better about their economic situation in this country, and there's a reason why we're growing at a more rapid rate, and there's a reason why we've added more manufacturing
juice
jobs.
the economy
and
with a tax cut that you're gonna
and there's
have to
a
pay
reason
for
why
long term.
wages are. But all of those things are very positive, and they're actually helping Americans, and I'm glad that that's happening. And I think that if that continues to happen, actually, and if we restrain our profligate spending, I actually think we can do something about that debt and that deficit. And in all honesty, President Clinton was the last president to actually oversee a balanced budget.
We'll see what happens. One other principle: truth, character.
Yeah.
That was the cudgel against Clinton.
Absolutely.
Mike Pence, who spoke at CPAC, wrote a very impressive essay about how you got to judge him as your neighbor. This president has made a mockery of political discourse, decency, and truth-telling, and you know it. But you guys don't jump up and down about
I don't know that.
You do know it.
I don't know that. And
he just lied about his third despot. His third despot he just gave comfort to. He just said Kim Jong-un was not responsible for auto-warm beer. Matt.
That chapter that Mike Pence wrote was in a book that I edited. And it's a book about the 13 speeches that Ronald Reagan gave at CPAC, the group that I chair. And I think it's a big mistake to say that Donald Trump is somehow a dishonest political leader. He went around this country and said the 7, 8, 9 things that he intended to do.
He lies.
And he is a rare
all the
politician.
time.
Not true.
What?
Not true.
Matt
I reject that.
Please. How
Chris,
can you reject it? It's as plain as the nose on my face.
Because what you are going to argue is that there are times when facts are wrong that come out of the president's mouth or come out of the White House.
He said he didn't have anything to do with Jared's clearance, and he did. He said he had nothing to do with the hush money payments, and he did. He said 2 million people voted illegally, and they didn't. He lies all the time.
So we just came out of a congressional election, Chris.
Come on.
Are you still going to make the argument that there's not a huge voter fraud problem in this country?
Matt,
I heard you make that
He said
case
2
for years and
million
years.
people
After
voted illegally in
after
California. He said he had nothing to do with the clearance.
Illegally?
Matt, look, this is what I don't get.
How many voted illegally in California? Don't call him a liar.
He's a liar.
Specifically telling me
he's a liar.
It's a big number in California.
Matt,
but
it's
if
not
you're
anywhere near
Chris,
it, and you know it. There weren't people dancing on the buildings after 9/11. He lies all the time, and you know it. And this stuff with auto-warm beer.
I don't know it.
When President Obama went to Cairo and said America's got to do better than it's done in the past.
Let me try to answer.
Well, but you're shirking the question. You're shirking the question and the reality, Matt. Listen. You guys were so tough on Obama for giving shelter to Muslims.
You're not going to let me talk.
Well, I want to set the table.
You're not going to let me talk.
I want to set the table. This is his third despot in a row. He said that he believes Putin about not being involved with interference. He believes MBS in Saudi Arabia about not having anything to do with Khashoggi. And he believes Kim about not having anything to do with auto-warm beer. If President Obama had said that, Matt, your head would pop off your shoulders. Now, silence.
Here's what I know, okay? I know that there are certain outlets that want to focus on things that they say some truth teller says is incorrect. The fact is this. The president was very clear with the American voter about what he intended to do. He wasn't lying about what he intended to do, Chris. And what he has done is simply is to put into place what he said he would do. What you all are obsessed with is the inaccuracies that some people say exist
Not some
along the
people
way.
say.
I'd love to talk to you about each and every one of those. But what he said he would do with North Korea is engage the dictator, which is what he's doing. He said he would build a wall. He said he would cut corporate taxes. He said he would bring back the American economy. Talk about the forest. You're missing the forest for some little saplings, and that's a mistake.
All right, I don't see him as saplings, but I'll tell you what, Matt Schlapp, I wish you well at CPAC. You are always welcome on this show to talk about issues. I just get a little touchy when we ignore the obvious, but you're always welcome on here. Be well, and I'll see you soon.